How can your protagonist change without betraying people's expectations? I've seen this complaint, that the character disappoints when we get to know them and it changes all of a sudden. And you don't want people to try and kill you with the very book they wasted their time reading, or showing up with pitchforks and torches in your front yard at 2 a.m. Now, change is neither good nor bad. Your character can keep the same personality and goals throughout, but if they don't, then what matters is how you handle this change as an offer. It's true that you can do wrong in this area, but don't take this complaint at face value about how a sudden change is bad. It's not. It's okay to have it be unexpected. How else can we make plot twists then, if we're not allowed to surprise our readers? The complaint is actually not about how gradual or how fast the change happens. It's all about coherence. To express this point, let's take the example of a hero protagonist, which also allows me to dive a bit into what heroes are made of. This man is a hero, someone who saves the world, but let's make him spicy. The character starts off as a nice guy, sure, but then he becomes a jerk to finally save the day. I believe, and since my word is low than what I say is factual, I believe the author can absolutely write such a character as long as we understand why they change in such a way, from nice guy to jerk, and then to the point of doing something good for the world. Understanding is all the reader needs to appreciate a character, not agreeing with them. Understanding brings coherence, and this is always the most important aspect of a story. Not that the character is always coherent with themselves, but that their incoherence makes sense with the setting the character evolves in and the personality they started with. And if that makes sense, this is not an incoherence. Betrayal happens when there's no reason for the change, not simply because it's unexpected. There needs to be reasons, and they must be explained even in a succinct way. The reader should be able to trust the author on the fact that if they don't understand an attitude right away, they will in the future. And I repeat myself, but it's important, these pieces of information need to make sense. Coherence, always, and not a far-fetched plot because the author wanted to write a certain scene or character traits. The character has been made in a certain way. If the change cannot be justified, the author then needs to either drop the idea or to kill and replace the character with one who better fits the bill, not to twist the poor guy to their goodwill. At the very least, this puppeteering makes for a bad story and people will hate your character. Incoherence obliterates the pact signed between the author and the reader, the willing suspension of disbelief. It means believing in the reality of a fictitious story, for the time of this story. In other words, getting into the story. And for this to happen, the reader must never see signs that say, this is a story, somebody wrote it. This is what the complaint is about. When the character changes in an illogical way just because, the reader sees that they are a mere tool in the hands of their creator and can't feel concerned about what happens to them. The character becomes a marionette who can only deceive, since the author proved that everything the character shows might disappear on the next page. What is true and what isn't. I come back to our example character and how to make his transformation work. He's a good dude, but then becomes a jerk? How so? For it to be believable, he has to believe he is within his rights, that what he does is good. Not because society thinks he is. People might even hate and reject him for his behavior. He has to believe that what he does is good because he feels it's what he must do in order to be happy someday. Or that he begins to get how the world works, or rather believes it, and that this is the correct way to live in it, instead of doing everything for the love of others. But then, instead of favoring himself, he decides to put himself at risk and to save the day. I interpret it as his having realized he can be wrong on some points, and acting in consequence. For if he doesn't go through this second change, the situational turnaround doesn't work, unless he does his conjecture for himself, for his own benefit. And in that case, he's still a jerk and he can be just fine like this. And on heroes, what makes a protagonist a hero is not their personality traits. Not what they say, but their actions and what they think of them. We need these two things, because they can very well save the world and still be an asshole, if they do so to get something afterwards and not because they care about people's fate. It is nonetheless possible to take this character and turn them into a hero or to get close to it. They've done this action for themselves, but they understand then what good their action brought to others and that it matters. This makes them grateful to have been selfish enough at the time to make this decision, because otherwise they'll miss people who have been lost. This way, if the story continues, the character is at this time on the verge of becoming the person they really are, this hero.